people are turning into these, I don't know, very mischievous, data-driven creatures, data scientists, if you would, just to focus on proving their value in marketing rather than actually focusing on telling the story. And you want to focus your time and your efforts on the areas where a ChatGPT can't take your job. If you can find ways to go shake hands and still transfer that energy in person and demonstrate that you're a real person and focus on building those relationships, that's where you can prove the best value. Please find new ways to unlock and tell new stories and be more targeted and personalized, specifically in B2B.
Welcome to What Keeps Marketers Up at Night, the show where we unpack what's keeping modern CMOs, growth leads, and marketing ops folks awake, and occasionally make them laugh about it. I'm Jeff Spinella from Darwin, where we help teams turn marketing chaos into reliable systems that actually work. Today, I'm joined by Derek Gerber, Director of Growth at Power Digital Marketing. Derek is a growth executive with over 15 years of experience helping B2B companies transform their go-to-market strategies. He specializes in aligning sales and marketing teams, accelerating pipeline, and building high-performing programs that stand out in competitive markets. Derek, thank you for joining us.
Jeff, thanks for having me on the show. I'm so excited to be here today. And thanks again for considering me. So pumped to be on here with you today.
Of course. And we're so pumped to have you here. Thank you for joining, really. So why don't we start out here with you just filling in a few gaps. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do at Power.
Absolutely. I was going to say, one of the journeys of me getting here is that I started in software and technology, absolutely fell in love with the concept of working with engineers, developers, and implementers and integrators to build automated workflow solutions. A lot of that has transpired over my career, turning from sales into a marketing lead, and then found myself in the world. Fast forward after the last 8 to 10 years, found myself more in the consulting role and helping other, not only small and mid-sized companies, but many global and enterprise brands on how to position their software technology and business automation solutions out in the market. So absolutely blessed and honored. It's kind of that kind of journey, but absolutely, again, love software, love technology, and all things sales and marketing and growth.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we find that I feel like a lot of folks who start out working with engineers and developers, it gives you that little leg up because if you know how the guts work on these systems and how everything works in the back end, it really helps telling that story and selling that to whomever needs to be sold to, right?
I love that. And for the audience, I'm not a coder. I can't develop a thing, but I know that working with these teams, it is a completely different art form and it is so fun to do. So I take a lot of pride in that, obviously, but as I said, working with some of the brightest minds in the industry, give me kind of a unique advantage to understand software and technology.
Absolutely. No, not a coder here as well. So I'm with you on that. Just here to watch and learn and be astounded by the great work these guys do, guys and ladies. So from a marketing perspective, let's start with our classic opener here. What is keeping you up at night this week?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things keeping me up at night heading into the next year. And I think that a lot of people resonate with these things. But first one would be teams are very lean and mean these days. There's been a huge restructuring and addressing the elephant in the room, the uncomfortableness about it is how do you go do more with less? We know that's been the theme, but I'm talking about teams that have been maybe marketing teams of 30, 50, 100 people, literally cut down to teams of 3 or 5 people. We're supposed to take on an entire go-to-market plan and stretch while managing 7 different roles. And those things stress me out when I watch our favorite people, the most talented people, people who set records that have never been obtained before, have to move on or go find something else to do. And that leaves the rest of the burden to the rest of the team. And without a number 2, failure of agentic AI and adoption and what we can do from agents to scale workflows, you're finding a lot of people stuck in execution only modes to where they're not being strategic. They're more just kind of phoning it in to make sure that they're hitting their executional goals. But when it comes to developing the strategy and proving out a mix, if you would, a game plan for the next year, many are struggling, especially this time at the end of the year. And so the third part that's kind of keeping me up is that many teams, even with all the technology and all of the advancements and platforms and the huge $500,000 a year tech stacks, people still fail to unlock and action their data that they've captured. And that really hurts their ability to inform the executive team because they lack the proper modern measurement, modeling, and testing that they need to actually fulfill the strategy. So a couple of those things snowball into one another, but ideally at the end of the day, smaller teams being pressed to do more, but lacking the ability and the vision to unlock the right kind of strategy. That's what's keeping me up at night.
Yeah. it seems to be a constant theme that it just sort of never ends year after year, and teams continually has to do with more with less, right? I'd love to dig into maybe both of those pieces. Uh, you know, that one, and of course, execution mode, right? We're not maybe being looking at that 10,000 foot view because maybe we don't even have the time, or can't find the time because we're a smaller team, right? I'm curious, do you have any advice for someone who might be put in that position where, like you said, 30 to 40 people on their team, and now they're expected to wear 7 different marketing hats and be strategic while executing at the same time? How can someone put in a position like that do their best to succeed, and like you said, continue to tell that story to connect marketing to the bottom line, which is what the executives have to hear?
I absolutely love that question too, because I would say that in 95% of scenarios, there may not be internal approval to go get more headcount approved, and you may not be able to add more people to your team. And the only answer back that you might get is, well, we have to use more AI or other strategic partners. And so some of the areas where we've been brought in to help teams scale and help them not only build the right kind of strategy, but fulfill the other creative bandwidth issues that they run into, the content creation issues they run into. How do you properly address AI discoverability from an organic search perspective? What's happening with GEO, EEO, all the things in between? What do you do for paid media? It's a lot for a small team to handle. So it's like, if you can't properly activate the right kind of tech stack internally on your own quite yet, there's usually room within your expanded budget to be able to go bring in additional help from the outside. And that's actually been one of the areas where we have found where a lot of teams have been saying, I have a couple very, very strong subject matter experts internally, but activating them into the right strategy is something that we need help with. Also, we need technology recommendations as well. And so kind of finding third party partners, if you would, has been a quick win and an unlock for a lot of teams who've already managed a lot of the restructures, who have their goals out there, but are still missing that strategic component. Usually can't go get the extra headcount on it, but there are still partners out there that can help you make the right technology recommendations and then actually go put together the right go to market game plan for you at scale. That's been some of the ways that we've been helping our clients succeed. And they're saying that's exactly what I need. So in some of those areas, other than just throw some AI on it and go take it to market and figure it out, like you heard from executive pressures, there are ways to bring in the right kind of trusted people, proven partners that help unlock like that game plan that you need, the blueprint, if you would, is what we like to call it, to success.
I completely agree too, and yeah, Darwin, just like Power, we have a lot of clients, and certainly the marketing space as well, where they might not have that the know-how or the expertise or the experience of what we've been both of our sides have been doing for all these years and working with clients as relates to, well, this is actually the best tech stack for this, or this is the best tool for that. Here's how you should be using this in the most efficient way. You're missing leads because you're not setting things up correctly. It's not, consultants or an agency or whatever you want to call it, a partnership. It's not necessarily a bad approach. It's probably one of the best approaches you can choose, in my experience, in trying to do everything yourself. Because frankly, there are folks out there who are resources who can really, really help. And a lot of folks, I don't want to speak for Derek, you or your Power, but a lot of folks certainly, your companies are happy to talk to you, before they're not going to tie you down and force you to pay a ton of money just to have a conversation, right? And that's the beauty of it. A lot of us folks just really want to be helpful, and that's where the value comes from.
Yeah, you said that really, really well. I was gonna say, and there have been some areas too where maybe smaller boutique partners and agencies with flexible fit. Those are great for those little executional moments where you may have a gap or you may not be able to fill that role. But ideally, looking for that holistic go to market, data driven strategy. Where do you go? Why? Where's the data that proves it? Most importantly, tells that story back to the executive team to build some more confidence. That's exactly how you're going to prove out the ROI of your work. I would just say, I was like, not to add another thing that keeps me up at night, but those things that we were talking about is people are turning into these, I don't know, very mischievous, data driven creatures, data scientists, if you would, just to focus on proving their value in marketing rather than actually focusing on telling the story, aligning what matters to the brand, bringing out your core ethos to the audience. And there's no more focus on building awareness or credibility or trust. And it's all been geared towards growth and performance where you optimize yourself into a corner. And so those are the things that I think that hurt the most when I come in and help our clients specifically. But if I can help anyone, it's just, you might be optimized into a corner already. There may be new channels to unlock, new ways to tell your story. Like influencer marketing, or again, the kind of content you can write to be more citable for AI search and what you can do there. There's so many different areas today in marketing versus 3 or 5 years ago that you can start to unlock. But if you don't have the team and if you're already struggling with bandwidth, those things seem so far out of reach, but they could be activated tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious to hear because you mentioned something right about thinking outside the box for maybe some other places where there could be some avenues or channels for eyeballs or whatever it may be. Influencer marketing is one you mentioned there. I'm curious because I don't have the statistic in front of me, but I read recently that let's just say a much larger number or percentage of marketing teams or CMOs, whatever it may be, are expecting to rely on or start to use influencer marketers in 2026. What are your thoughts on employing such a tactic? Are there certain situations where have you done this before? And are there certain situations where maybe it's better for certain types of brands versus others? I'm curious to get your thoughts on influencer marketing because it's one of the things that I feel like we haven't seen a lot of, at least the clients that I've worked with over the years. Depends on the client, but usually they sometimes shy away from something like that.
Yeah. And I love the question too, and everything around influencer marketing, UGC, community building is really what we're talking about. And as you start to get into how people digest content across different mediums, and they focus on how they interact with channels and brands that they love, you realize that 81% of B2B technology and marketing decisions in the last 3 years, they have focused on bringing in the winner that was the preferred brand from the start. And those that focused on building awareness through community, that focused on building trust and thought leadership through new audiences, went way above and beyond just their performance marketing goals and found new ways to tell their story, their platform, their features, their stories that matter, that changed the impact of a business all through channels like influencer marketing. And so it is absolutely, specifically, maybe the last 6 or 9 months, one of the hottest topics. It's something that unique to Power Digital. We actually have this built in for B2B as well. But there are influencers, technology enthusiasts, educators out there, trending, cutting edge audiences where you're talking about maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of followers that could be out there that are focused on promoting your platform. And it doesn't have to feel so transactional. And I think that's one of the key things that we unlock too, is that when you do this right and we work to research, negotiate, and then actually go develop and produce this content, you never want it to feel like it's transactional. You want it to feel genuine, authentic, and you never want to box in a creator. They like to be called creators if you want to keep up on the tabs there. But from the creator market, they also want to bring great stories to their audiences, unlock new platforms, and share with them how this can improve and impact their life. And it takes you full circle to everything we talked about, that storytelling aspect. So it is very natural. I feel like some of those who have feared, getting into that kind of mix feel like it's very advertisement focused. And that is not the way the right storytelling is done. There's another aspect too of this, of just general UGC content, user generated content, where you've seen someone reporting on something, it's showing the software, the features, or it's telling a story through a thought leader within the company, external to your company, within the market, if you would, or just actually a genuine case study from a client, but demonstrating the software, technology, or hardware platform, talking about the impact on their business and their day-to-day life, and creating an asset library that you can not only use on your website, but within sales enablement materials that you can also use within your paid campaigns, and even on more targeted efforts like CTV. Those are major unlocks to where people who are leading the conversation are developing that right now. From the influencer perspective, you have to go and you have to hire a creator. They would post to their audience and you give them freedom and flexibility to do what they do because that's why their audience loves them. On the other side of the house, you can also replicate this at scale and do a bit of your own UGC to throw into the mix. Those have been the most content creative innovations, especially within this last year, that are going to matter now more than ever moving forward into next year, specifically for B2B. So activating the right kind of community, building out the right kind of strategy and programs around that is just another side of it, because you always have to have a data-driven distribution plan, what channels you're going to interact with, why, but then you need to focus on what kind of story you're going to tell. That's where I see influencer and UGC content absolutely crushing it for our clients lately and building a lot more trust and awareness at scale for a lot more efficient cost structures.
Well, yeah. And again, it's thinking through the strategy here of the story you're telling, right? Not just throwing things against the wall and the execution standpoint. I really love there's a ton that you could take out of that answer there. But one of the things that really struck me there was about you're saying that these folks who are the creators, uh, they care about their audience. They want to share something with their audience that's going to provide value. It's not something that has to be super transactional, right? It's something that they think it will benefit the people who they engage with on a daily basis. So I feel as if it doesn't have to be a scary thing to look into. It's something where if you find the right people, the right folks, the right creators, um, with the right intentions, you can really make some magic there.
I love it. Yes. I was going to say the way that we usually try to break it down too is it has to match the tone of your brand, of course. And there's more analytical approaches, there's more technical approaches, but then there's some more fun, lighthearted ways to be able to do these things too. So as a part of it is this kind of thinking is if you're looking to develop that game plan, think about creating 3 different archetypes, if you would. Who's going to be my audience that's focused on educating the market? Focus on another that's like really deep dive into the features, really getting a nitpicky about each one of the things, and then start focusing on more like mass awareness, latest innovations. Hey, I've discovered this to my audience. And then again, give them that creative flexibility to do what they do. They'll be honest with you. But what you don't want to do is here's exactly the script that you need to read. Here's exactly what you need to do. That's how you break some of that immersion. So you just want to be able to be very upfront about what you're trying to accomplish and then make sure you're given that freedom to tell that story. That's where you can absolutely unlock influencer marketing. And it's super exciting.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited to see more of it, as we mentioned here, in the coming year and years, done better as well, which I'm sure there's plenty of room for that improvement too. Let's shift gears a little bit though, if we can. We're going to, this is slightly revisiting what we already touched on a little bit. To our hot topic of the week, there was a BCG article, a Boston Consulting Group article I read and shared with you, and you may have come across yourself here over the past week or two. We can include in this show notes. The title of the article is "The Agentic Marketing Race is On. CMOs that move first will win." This is specifically very near and dear to our heart at Darwin here because we offer a lot of agentic services and we do see the value of them. And we've certainly seen some reticence on people to employ these services from a system standpoint. I'm curious, do you agree with that statement that the CMOs who move fast to implement agentic AI within their organizations or at least their daily workflow, do you agree that they will win, the ones who do that first? And how much have you seen this adoption-wise with the organizations you work with, CMOs you work with, or even people maybe a little bit lower down on the hierarchy within the organization?
Yeah. And I think great question there too. And breaking down just a little bit, we're looking at CMOs, the executive presence around implementing AI agents, the untold promises of profitability and scalability. All the things that come with it really needs to be broken down into 2 factors. Is one, there's an executive vision that's involved with what is ideal for the state of the business and where they need to go. But there is a big gap between strategic vision and actual day-to-day execution. And what I mean by that is that AI is a fantastic tool for scaling, but no different from the early days of document automation technologies to where you could scale the wrong thing 18,000 times in one click. And most people have lots of data, but data is still stuck in silos. The day-to-day operations, especially with the knowledge that has been lost during the attrition of shrinking teams, really hurts that whole process. So what you'll actually find is you'll have multiple different data silos. The teams that are actually trying to activate more AI agentically across the organization who are on the hook for these things don't have the knowledge. Their data is disparate and it's all over the place. And they don't have a sense of what is good technology to actually go implement. So I would just personally say that 95% of my clients this year alone have asked me, is this a good tech stack? Do I have the right tools? They honestly have no idea. And it's not a judgment to them because there's lots of great tools, but they'll always come back to if your data is wrong, your workflow is wrong, the strategy is wrong, then you're just going to have a bad time. And that is something that ChatGPT is not going to solve for you. And I am very comfortable in saying that too. It may be an unpopular opinion, but AI right now is being used as a bandaid to cover up other deep internal organizational problems around marketing infrastructure and properly activating data. This goes beyond just, hey, should I go try out LinkedIn as a great channel? This is so much deeper than that because if you want to do personalized outreach, you want to do ABM at scale, and you want to create content and creative that actually resonates, that's a bit scroll stopping, I still see companies that have these huge multi-million-dollar tech stacks that are using AI across the organization who still have generic corporate jargon and speak, and they don't focus on differentiation. And so when you talk about scaling everyday work and coming up with new concepts and creative ideation, those are obvious moments for smaller bits of AI to be implemented properly. But when it comes to putting in an agent that can actually replace a full-time marketer that knows the game, that's been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, that's still not something that I've seen replicated. And it's mostly because people still have that gap from the executional standpoint around their data, what actually needs to take place in that role, and then activating against the right strategy. Without those things, it's just going to scale bad behavior. And that's exactly what I want to be able to hit home on that article is like, I still think it's right in the sense that on paper, can you scale? Can you do more work at scale? Can you create more profit? Absolutely. And in the right hands, these kinds of tools can make you do more thought, more upfront research, really dial in the best concepts faster. But it's not something that organizations who are spending 50 or $100 million a year on paid media are just going to go turn over to a robot without any human interaction at all.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more from my daily workflow and what we've heard as well from a lot of other folks we talk to that it's not a replacement, it's a partner, so to speak, or a tool. Let's just say that partner sounds like it's probably even going to do more than it does. Now, having said all that, which makes incredible sense, if you have core issues, they're not going to be solved by sticking a new tool on top, AI or otherwise. I have to ask you, what, if any, AI tools do you use on a daily basis or weekly basis, or do you use any?
Yeah, great question too. The AI tools that we're using here at Power Digital span a couple different focuses, if you would. But starting in the obvious places, there are plenty of platforms right now that offer in-platform AI capabilities, and mastering those concepts and being certified on that, like what you can do on Google ads or what you could do on Meta ads using those kinds of technologies, those are essential. Those are great to learn. I feel like those are very user friendly just for the audience as well. Like you can pick those up and you can actually pick up some scalability, what you can do with your own work and additional profitability because you're not wasting time in the back and forth. But like the deeper research, the things that matter most, there's lots of different LLMs out there, of course, but like me personally, I like to use ChatGPT for getting all my client upfront research put into place. Am I making sense with the kind of strategy that we're putting together? More logical thinking. As you dive a little bit deeper, other platforms like Gemini help glue together some creative concepts extremely well, do other kinds of research on the market very, very well. I would say that upfront to using other platforms internally like we do here, like Claude, if you would, going a little bit deeper into data analytics, does a fantastic job of giving our team the kind of vision that we need for modeling and measurement. And then Perplexity is also a great research tool. If you're aware of that tool, does a ton of research online, gives you a bit more citable resources to kind of lock into, if you would. But using a combination of those tools in the right moment has been actually the best workflow for us here at Power and helping our clients also see these environments, have scaled them, but then also given us a lot better answers faster, more ideation, and conceptually aligned with our clients from the start. Now, there's again other kinds of tools around personalization, what you could do at scale for creative concepting, like platforms like Midjourney or Via or a number of other analytical processes that help create ideas faster to visualize the moment are also fantastic tools. So I would just state in short that here internally, we have 30 different AI tools that we're using. We use another popular platform called Profound that helps our clients with AI discoverability online and brand sentiment. And we often offer that to our clients while getting stood up online to say, here's the right kind of strategy that we need to go to market with. By the way, here's how our brand is showing up online. And then once we go to activate, we're using those additional tools down the line to make sure that we're moving quickly, not missing deadlines, but we're actually like making sure that we're driving outcomes for our clients. So it is a pretty comprehensive stack. Every division within Power has its own personalized stack, but those are personally a few of my favorites.
Yep. That's fantastic. 30 is a lot. 30 is a lot compared to the folks that we have spoken to. I feel like there's a certain place right now where you're either embracing these tools or you're not. And I don't want to say you're going to get left behind, but you're right. It can be a force multiplier as it relates to some aspects of the business of your business. It's not going to solve every problem. It's a companion.
Yeah,
But
that's a great point too. And
Yeah.
another
Mhm.
platform that we use here internally is a proprietary technology that we've been developing over the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of support from major partners like Meta, from LinkedIn, from TikTok, Google itself. But ideally, it's called Nova. And our Nova Insights platform actually tries to do what you're saying. It merges a lot of these concepts together, and it actually gives you direct insights on your campaigns from what you can do from a modeling perspective, analytics, measurement, testing, what you can actually do from setting up creative affinity as well, and being able to test different creative concepts that actually drive specific revenue within campaigns that we can measure back into. And it's all connected via like our Snowflake partnership. So those who have their own CDP, who have this data at least stored somewhere, we can actually create workflows and connections and integrations that bring all your in-house data in. And it creates a little bit of that customized environment where you can see it all in one place. So without scattering everything, it's something as a value add that we bring to our clients as a unique differentiator. And again, as a major investment and part of power and what we're actually known for. So our Nova platform helps create a little bit of that alignment that you're talking about.
Amazing. Yep. Keep hearing more and more about these internal setups that are they're shielded from the world. We have
A
a few
lot
of
of
them
people
too as
have
well.
their own LLMs that are wrapped around some other data, and it's definitely
They
not one
do.
of those with Nova.
No, no, no. But yeah, it sounds much more powerful than that. That's for sure. I would love to take a peek, but I know it's proprietary to power. But this is just another indication here of what can be done
That's right.
with these sort of tools. But yeah, companion, not going to replace people. Well, we'll replace some people, but not everyone. Hopefully here. Now it's a little bit of a dark thought, and so using that dark thought as a transition here, I want to talk a little bit about our nightmare story segment.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I'd like to ask this to everybody. Tell us about here the worst campaign or system failure or anything that's the worst nightmare story you have related to your marketing or growth work.
Yeah, actually, I do have one. I'm a little sensitive, so I can't drop the names of some of these things. But I've been working with a particular client for about 5 or 6 years now. It's about a $2 billion publicly traded organization. Um, Worked with them at a previous place that I was at and put a lot of time and effort into building out those campaigns, launching things at scale, solidifying a lot of the foundations that we needed across their paid media programs. And we're talking about generating a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of pipeline here for enterprise accounts. So fast forward, I've been at Power going to my third year here. I found out that this client working with the previous partner accidentally spent $2 million on the weekend because that team looked to cut costs and eliminated other safeguards that were in place and ultimately tanked all the campaigns. And when you do this long enough, you want to make sure that you're making the right kinds of recommendations, that no matter where you go, you still believe in the product and what needs to happen. But when I received the call that had happened, we immediately came in as their partner and rectified a lot of different things and actually found new ways to go scale and grow and move beyond with what we can do here at Power. A lot more resources and capabilities here. But I would just say that in some areas, it's not worth cutting the cost, just from a couple grand because it could cost you millions of dollars later. And what I mean by that is that some platforms are worth the investment to protect yourself against risk and create that level of risk mitigation, if you would, like watching your spend and what you can do. There's way too many manual overrides and gaps in the processes where people aren't looking at things and they set it to like this set it and forget model. And that's where mistakes can start to happen. And ultimately, that's kind of where I want to bring that story home is just like, if you want to avoid things like that, don't ever treat anything in marketing like set it and forget it. I hear that way too often. And it's okay to have evergreen campaigns, but you don't want anything to be set it and forget it. You lose track. You get too far away from the real work that drives your value. And that's what I wanted to bring home is like, even for large organizations, these things happen where you spend an entire quarter's budget on a weekend because someone overlooked something that you thought was common sense. But really, ultimately, at this level, especially here at Power Digital, we make sure that we hit all those little points of common sense. But ideally, driving innovation is where you need to be. But you can't overlook the small things. There's always a way to come back and do the comeback story, if you would, but didn't have to be there in the first place if we were looking at the big picture and doing it right.
Absolutely not. Yeah, setting it, forgetting it is almost always going to be a problem for you. And I think that's a lesson that's pretty much universal too. There's no real great work that can be done, as far as I know, that's setting it and forgetting it. And even things like automations that we have set up for our clients to ensure that we have 100% uptime. And if there's anything like disk space that's getting too full or whatever it may be, we get alerts. Um, these don't work forever. They need to be continually looked at and tweaked on a regular basis to make sure we're getting the right indicators. We're not getting false indications for certain things, because then you raise flags and you lose trustworthiness if you were to share that with the customer, like, no, everything's fine. So yeah, it's never set it, forget it. And yeah, I think you're right as well. I mean, obviously you're right about, sometimes it's worth a little bit more investment into a system that has a little bit more control, so to speak. And the last thing I want to pull out of that is just a clear value of relationship building, because you worked with this client, right, for a number of years in another organization, and guess what they called? So building relationships is key to any sort of professional role. I've had this happen to me as well, where they've gone to some company's gone somewhere else, worked with another team, didn't go well. We get the call and we fix the mistakes. Just so many little pieces to take out of that anecdote. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. I was going to say the set and forget it stuff, peel back the layer, challenge everything. Every quarter, come back into it. Every annual planning session, do we really need to do that, and why? What's most essential? And then making sure you not only have the right risk mitigation, it's not something you think about a lot in marketing all the time, but as you start to move forward too, if it's really set it and forget it, then what value are you bringing? Think about that as you start to build out each and every aspect of your strategy.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you just have the same campaign running over and over again with nothing new interesting to show the folk. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't seem like the right move. A couple more questions here for you, and then I'll definitely let you go here. But thank you thus far. This has been really great conversation. Curious to hear a little bit about your, let's say, marketing or tech or AI stack, whatever that might be. You probably have a little bit more flexibility, maybe sounds like you do in your current role, to change things up in your organization. But if you could rebuild one of those stacks, any stacks you have from scratch, this is my ideal setup for X CRM or X ads platform or whatever it may be, because there's a million of them. I'm curious to hear if you do have an ideal stack, and if you're using that right now, or if it's just sort of, this is the clear cloud, no clouds in sight view.
Fantastic. Great question. We analyzed a lot of different tools throughout the process. So really happy with our power stack and AI and what we are doing for our clients. It's been proven out over this last year. Our clients on average using our approach, our tech stacks, have been driving 24% more revenue year over year versus other benchmarks that we've seen. However, it never stops the frontier for innovation and what you want to be able to do. We're currently looking at some other unique partnerships, specifically focused around how you do more personalization at scale with other ABM platforms, how you deliver that kind of content, and then also really focusing on measurement and reporting and how you connect the dots throughout that process. In B2B for this audience too, I know that some of your sales cycles will be 30 days. If you've got that kind of setup, fantastic. But some of the more advanced enterprise campaigns that might be a multi-million-dollar system, a $5 million system that could take 6, 12, 18 months to be able to close that kind of sales cycle, it's a little bit more difficult to navigate some of that. So we're working to bring some of that transparency back into all those touch points throughout the process. Still unbelievable how many different gaps there are for some other clients. And so helping close some of those gaps is like where we're focusing on additional investments and other partnerships on the technology stack around delivering personalized campaigns, but then also like proving out that value so that the team doesn't have to stay up at night themselves and worry about that. We can actually just provide that in-house for them.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Now, last formal question here, so to speak. I want to know about your hill to die on. What is your most unpopular marketing or sales? I know you have
Good one.
a toe in each one there. What's your most unpopular marketing or sales opinion?
I would say I'll do both. I would love to do both. My most unpopular
Sure.
marketing and sales opinions here from a marketing perspective in B2B. Way too many of you are way over leveraged on paid search alone. I love it. I love all of our partners. Don't take me wrong, but mostly what I do here in a lot of these scenarios is that I had performance goals to hit and leads to generate. And so I just kept throwing more budget. And we've even found with some of our clients that are multi-billion-dollar brands, spending 33% more money on paid search to drive 3% fewer conversions. And the reason was they failed to unlock targeting and other campaigns and prove out the ROI and efficacy of other programs. So they're stuck into one channel just to hit a performance and tactical measurement perspective to appease the executive overlords. But please find new ways to unlock and tell new stories and be more targeted and personalized, specifically in B2B. I have run over 1,000 different GWIs, global web index campaigns. If you're not familiar with that. And it basically validates what channels you should be on and why, where your audience is most likely to discover brands. Be more aware of your solutions and then actually build trust where they're most likely to convert. And finding ways to be more personalized for verticalized marketing, persona-based marketing, region-based marketing, how you tell that story through content and creative. A lot of people don't have that. So please, for the life of me, find new ways to unlock other channels and don't be so overly reliant just on paid search. You have to set up the proper testing to prove it out, but there's ways to do it at scale to where you can drive much more impactful revenue for the company. The other side of the house, the unpopular sales opinion. Most of that energy that you've got is still best transferred in person and through real world handshakes. I know that ever since the pandemic years, it's crazy that it's, 5-6 years ago already, but we got really defaulted to being in these Zoom-like environments all the time. And it's easy to go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting and then cram in the rest of your day, in the last final waking moments and minutes of your working day there, or even do it at night. But really, if you can find ways to go shake hands and still transfer that energy in person and demonstrate that you're a real person and focus on building those relationships, that's where you could prove the best value. The best value isn't through the best crafted email. It's not through the best presentation. It's not through the best, any digital asset in reality. Is being able to show up and speak confidently and build trust around that team. And there's like, this is my partner right here. If I can help you from the sales side, those are definitely the ways to be able to go drive the best growth. And by the way, be friends with your marketing team. They're your best friends.
Fantastic. I love it. Couldn't agree more, at least with the sales part. I'm a little bit less practice on the marketing side, but I really think there's no replacement for that in-face, that face time. Can't tell you how many times I've visited clients across the country over the years. It really builds that relationship or grows it and shows that, shows that we care, right? So hopefully people will learn a little bit more about that and get out from behind their keyboards and get out in the real world, right?
Got to go do it. You got to go shake a couple hands. And it's actually a ton of fun to go do. So definitely get a chance when you get to go see a client or go to one of those personalized events. It means the world to them.
Agreed. Well, that wraps up the questions I have here for you, Derek. Before we do wrap up here, I'm curious if you have any parting thoughts you'd like to share or anything else you'd like to get out there.
Yeah, I want to build a ton of confidence for everybody right now. It's just like with all the tools and all the capabilities and all the automations in place, it still can't replace people all the way through. And you want to focus your time and your efforts on the areas where a ChatGPT can't take your job or replicate the things. And that actually comes more through the passion and understanding and the ability to do the right kind of storytelling around your brand. There's different ways to focus on how you go distribute that message is one part of the game. You want a data-driven approach. What channels matter most? What are the best buttons to click and optimizations to do? Of course, but don't forget that storytelling aspect. And I think a lot of people have skipped over that part. I want you to be able to have that kind of trust, knowledge, and certainty that people are listening. But if you can activate new ways to tell that story, stand out, don't be too generic, you're absolutely going to hit home and build a fresh new audience that absolutely loves your content. And they're going to self-discover and be like, this is what I've been looking for all along. So I want to encourage other people to get out there and go do that storytelling in fresh ways, build those relationships. And then again, working with sales and marketing teams, y'all can go crush it from now into the future and then scale better with those AI tools, 100%.
I'm inspired. And I'm going to get out there and do that as well. Thank you, Derek. This has been jam-packed with a ton of amazing information. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Jeff, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Anytime, would love to come back on and talk the latest with you. But to the audience, thanks again for having me here today. And we'll be catching you really soon.
Great. Again, this is Derek Gerber, Director of Growth at Power Digital Marketing. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.